One minor league baseball stadium named in tribute to America's home run king, Hank Aaron. Well, tonight, new for sale signs are up in front of the former home of the now defunct Mobile BayBears of the Southern League. Real estate company Marcus and Millichamp is handling this listing, and we've reached out to them to ask about the property at suggested use of the asking price, but they've not returned our calls yet. But the property dedicated to the late Mobile native Hank Aaron continues to get a lot of inquiries. And as former BayBears manager Chris Morgan tells me tonight, those inquiries are not limited to prospective buyers. In 1996, the stadium that would eventually be named after home run king Hank Aaron was just a yellow square on a map, a series of artist drawings of what it could be. But eventually, it was. And the BayBears were a real thing, until they weren't 22 years later. Today, Hank Aaron Stadium, or the Hank as it became known to be, sits silent and abandoned just off busy I-65. And no one mourns its loss more than this man, Chris Morgan.
I miss the people, I miss the fans, you know, the people that would come, even though we didn't have many. The people that were coming, you know.
Morgan was the general manager of the BayBears for 4 seasons, 2014 until 2018, just a year before their departure. He's noticed the for sale signs recently erected outside the stadium just off I-65, and he thinks he knows what will come next.
Whoever buys that land, if the stadium's not in the plan, I'm assuming it's not going to be, they're going to have to tear it down, and that's not cheap.
Does that bother you?
Yeah, it bothers me a lot.
Facebook posts show diehard baseball fans still pull off the interstate to see Mobile's tribute to its favorite son.
It's not the intent to say, hey, we don't care about Hank Aaron, but that is perception, you know, and in a lot of instances, perception's reality, and that's just what people see. And when they drive by that stadium, or they see that sign on the interstate, Hank Aaron Stadium Exit 1, and you get off there, the Highway 90 exit, and you drive through McGowan Park to get there, and the gate's locked, and you can't go in, and you see the weeds and everything else. It's like, man, this is not what I expected to see.
As we wait for that next cleat to fall, I asked Chris about why the BayBears left Mobile in the first place. It's complicated, he says, but one issue kept popping into our conversation. It was the Hank itself.
I'll say this now. I was even saying it when I was GM, and I told people at the city this. That stadium was built old. It was built old. It was built aged. It was built for $8.5 million in 1996.
That was less than half of what most cities were spending to build major league stadiums at that time. But Mobile shared that expense with the team's original owner and was reluctant to spend more. The other problem, he says, was a location far away from Mobile's waterfront and re-emerging downtown. Attendance never lived up to those early years, and by 2017, he says, the writing was on the stadium wall.
We were just so far in the hole at that point that it was hard. But I always told our staff, it's like, you know, focus on the people who are here and not the ones who aren't. And they'll leave happy, and maybe they'll tell others, and maybe more people will show up.
Today, what was the BayBears are now the Trash Pandas in Madison, Alabama. Hank Aaron is gone, and soon Chris Morgan believes his namesake will be too. Will Mobile ever see minor league baseball again?
Never say never, but I know what it's going to take to make that happen, and I don't think there's a willingness to do that.
As we sat down tonight, I shared this with Chris. It's one of the promotional baseball gloves given to fans one night, featuring an NBC 15 logo right here, and of course the BayBears logo right here on the back. If you have one, hang on to yours. They're among a dwindling number of reminders of that time when Mobile found its place in the history of America's favorite pastime.